I call the regular meeting to order for Monday, February 10th, 2025. Before we get to the meeting, we'd like to acknowledge that this council meeting is being held on the homeland of the Tanaka people. Welcome to members of the gallery that are in the gallery tonight and anybody that may be viewing remotely. Can I get a motion to adopt the agenda of the regular council meeting of Monday, February 10th, 2025? Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Blissett. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion to adopt the following minutes? Public hearing of Monday, January 27th, 2025. Regular council meeting of Monday, January 27th, 2025. Special council meeting of Wednesday, January 29th, 2025. Mover, Councillor Ray, Councillor Blissett. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. We're moving into delegations. We have Staff Sergeant Barry Graham from the RCMP detachment here tonight. He's going to present the RCMP fourth quarter report and 24 annual. You could do the annual report as well, Barry? Yeah. Floor is yours.
Good evening, Mayor Price, Council, staff, members of the general public. Thanks for the opportunity to provide these reports. Okay, so in detachment news for the start with the quarterly report. We started with the body-worn camera project in December. The transition has been fairly smooth overall. Members have experienced an increase in workload into documentation and transcription. Redaction requests, particularly for files where a report to Crown Council is submitted. Members also participated in an airport tabletop exercise at the Canadian Rockies International Airport. These exercises are designed to foster strong working relationships between the airport and first responder agencies, ensuring a high level of interoperability and understanding of potential challenges unique to the airport environment. We also had a significant arrest we participated in this early December, I believe it was. And it was all of a sudden, we were alerted to a person subject of a Canada-wide warrant that was traveling towards Cranbrook. Our plainclothes officers were involved mostly in that, and Sergeant Hartle tracked the guy right into Alberta, and it was a significant and quick operation, but successful. Our plainclothes members had a successful traffic interdiction in November as well, with a significant amount of drugs seized. You're all probably aware of the arson that occurred in October, and there was one loss of life for that. We will be submitting a disclosure package to Crown Council for a recommendation of charges with that. So in the quarter, we had 5 members transfer in, 3 outgoing members. We're facing one hard vacancy for a bit till we can get a replacement from staffing, but we're working to get district to help us support that being expedited. We had the Cram the Cruiser initiative, which was fantastic. 1,000 pounds of food, $810 in cash for local food bank. You'll see myself and the better-looking Sergeant Hurt with our community engagement coordinator, Mel Monroe there. Student engagement, career fair at Mount Baker, which participated in the Indigenous Leadership Group at Laurie and Parkland Middle School. And Sergeant Hurt as well coached the grade 9 Laurie Middle School volleyball team. Halloween patrols, members conducted proactive patrols on Halloween night throughout the community, handing out candy to trick-or-treaters, and pulled an impaired driver off the road. And that was a substantial one. That person was operating in amongst the trick-or-treaters. We had significant safety concerns with that one. So the community engagement, crime reduction initiatives, business engagement, 10 of them with 6 volunteer hours, 2 community events, trainings and meetings were 4 with 6 hours for all of it straight through. Speed watch deployment 6. So 18 hours total. Vehicles checked 696. Foot patrols as well through the community, including Boyer Park, Common Ground, and the downtown core to engage with the community and increase police visibility to deter crime. Several weapons and stolen and found property were recovered. 17 curfew checks were performed over that period of time, over the quarter. Proactive patrols were regularly conducted in hotspot areas. We identified through reports of police and crime trends. The out-of-jurisdiction members on overtime significantly assisted in the proactive policing efforts. So for the metrics, reports of police over the quarter, 2,387 versus 2,358 of the previous quarter, but up significantly from the fourth quarter of 2023, like it's a 12% jump or 12.5% jump. The reports of police by month, it's interesting that it's almost flattened, where we would have normal spikes in summer. October is our biggest month in calls for service. I can't offer you an explanation on that other than the workload doesn't drop off. While we would normally, the patterns where things would pick up in March, start to subside in September and October, and you start to catch up in your investigations throughout the fall and winter. There's no catching up in October, so that's it'd be interesting to follow this to see if that continues for next year. Reports to Crown Counsel, 103, down from 153 previous quarter, consistent with Q4 of 2023. Reports to Crown Counsel, charges approved 50 versus 148 previous quarter, and down from 109 at the end of 2023. Mental health files, 149 versus 44 in the previous quarter. The wait time to hospital, 55 hours, right in the middle of the previous quarter and the year before. Traffic tickets, 31, not really much difference there. The traffic warnings, probably the first goose egg we've gotten for warnings, but I guess we wrote tickets where they were required. Prisoners held, 144. The number is not much different. And the joint patrol with bylaws, 36 versus the 24 for the quarter in the previous quarter, sorry. Prime files reviewed by our records team, 3103, up significantly from the fourth quarter of 2023. The overdose for police attendants, 14, which is higher. That's a concern for sure, up from 6 previous quarter. Not much difference from Q3 of 2023. And overall, the statistics went down in the quarter. You can see the number change from 20 through to 24, 36 for the accidents, and some increases concerning with the fatals, of course, and mischief and the injury accidents. And that was a quarter, and now I'll move on to the annual report. So for 2024, we had 8,894 reports to police. That's a 7% increase from 2023 alone. And this is following the trend of increase year after year. 569 prisoners held, which led to $124,897 in provincial cost recovery. 103 joint community patrols with bylaws, 34% increase from 2023. Thankfully, we had Reserve Constable Bill Sullivan help with the engagement there. His availability really helped increase our engagement. So traffic initiatives overall, 101 violation tickets issued, 41 warnings, 42 vehicles impounded, and our share of the traffic fine revenue was $205,000. Reports to Crown Counsel, 373 reports to Crown submitted, 392 charges. Each file has multiple charges, and only 30 charges were declined. Community engagement, 14 community events, 50 businesses engaged, 3 crime reduction presentations, and 1,971 vehicles checked during Speedwatch. And so the reported offenses, we saw increases in half and decreases in the other half. Sexualized offenses up by 10, which is certainly a concern. The drop off in assault, mischief, motor vehicle accidents overall is promising, but theft from vehicle went up. Business break and enters went up, and residential break and enters went down. And that is it.
Apologize, Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. Just one, well, maybe two quick questions, Barry. One around the body worn cameras. Is it going to be something that the officer has to deal with, or is there like is there civilian staff that can work on the redacting and that? Like, what can other staff do versus the officer being like taped to do, like having to do that? Is there a difference?
Yeah, that's a great question, Councillor Graham. We have a redaction team. We have a support team out of headquarters that deal with those requests. We do have to make the request in both a text page on our Prime page and on a help desk ticket. But they're supporting that right now. The members still have to review it. They still have, make their notes beforehand. There's still the extra supervisory reviews, not counting what happens when it gets across the road to Crown. But we're looking at every way that we can to move the administrative tasks over to support staff who can do it likely quicker and better than us, and leaves us with more roadable hours. But that is what we're working on.
Awesome. And then just one other question on that traffic stop that resulted in a drug seizure. How long was that person held for? Like, would they put out for bail, or are they held? How did that go down?
That's a great question. I don't know the specifics of that file. I will say that oftentimes they are released quite quickly by us as we await lab results and things, because we're bound by court decisions for length of time from the time you initiate the charges to the outcome, and some things are beyond our control when it comes to testing. But I would venture to bet that the person was released by us, but I can't say for sure.
I'm going to go with Councillor Popoff first, and then we'll go to Councillor Ray.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Barry, in your quarterly report, you were mentioning the Cram the Cruiser. There was a Halloween event. There was 3 different events you were mentioning on that one slide. Were those paid staff time? Was it overtime? Was it volunteer time? How was the time accounted for?
To my knowledge, all of them were on regular time. There was no overtime costs incurred, but I can check into it to be sure, but not to my knowledge.
Excellent, thank you.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. So I've seen a few posts lately about Wanted Wednesdays. So I wondered if maybe you could just give us a brief description of what the Wanted Wednesdays initiative is. And I understand you've had some positive results lately from that. So for the benefit of Mayor and Council and anybody watching, it'd be great to hear about that.
Thank you, Councillor Ray. Yes, we started Wanted Wednesday on, I think it was November 27th. We've had 8 bulletins to date, 8 different people. The purpose of it is the executing the warrants for people that we've had trouble locating. We've run out of the police checks and trying to find the last place that they lived and different things. So we've been seeking the help from the public, and it's been great. We've had 4 of the 8 people. The warrants have been executed. 1 by one of our own members who saw the bulletin, 2 based on tips, and 1 where the person turned themselves in after they had seen it. 50% may not seem great unless it's baseball, softball, but in this case where it's difficult people to find, it's been great. It's been great to let the community know that these people are not fully engaged in the court process. There's victims of crime that are seeking resolution, and it's just great all around. That came from one of our plainclothes members, and both Amanda and Mel, our community engagement coordinator, put it all together, and it's we're happy to say it's successful. Thanks.
Councillor Bissett, nothing. Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Barry, you mentioned that so far the cameras have been going well. There's been an increase in work. I know it's only been a short amount of time, but have the cameras proven themselves useful?
Yes, overall. It's kind of like the the advance of CCTV everywhere. It's a lot of evidence, but there may be, you know, a lot of work to pour through it and find what's evidentiary. We've been able to capture video of people assaulting our members, captured the interactions that may have led to a public complaint. Those can be significant administrative burden to us. But overall, evidence of the offense when we're up there, it's a great tool. We just need to be able to streamline how we handle the data.
Great. And I just got a couple questions from your quarterly report. So there's a couple numbers here that, you know, like reports submitted to Crown Council is somewhat on par to what it was, the previous quarter and the, quarter 4 from 2023. But the reports to Crown Council with charges approved is down substantially. Just curious if you have anything to say, like why is that happening?
Oh, definitely, and I probably could have led with that. I appreciate you asking the question. We did have a significant challenge with our submissions administratively with Crown's digital evidence management system. Everything from flattening of documents, so they do administrative things, not investigative issues. So we a lot of time, Sergeant Hurt's been spending a lot of time trying to change the product that we send over, but not the investigative changes, basically. But that was a little bit of a hiccup. And I mean, part of it could be how much time they're able to spend into approving the charges if they're behind on different things. So there's no real solid answer other than we did hit a snag. And
Yeah. So it's not so much what evidence is being provided, it's that our formatting is off a little bit compared to what they require. Is that what you're saying, sort of?
well, actually,
Yeah.
the best explanation is that charges weren't declined.
Yeah.
We just we had it like an administrative snag with the different expectations of the new digital evidence management system for Crown Council. So it's been a change. We've had to. That's the biggest impact on us from a data perspective. The extra text pages were, I think I explained in the last meeting, where now they have to be broken down into multiples. The attachments had to be named specifically. There's only characters, 50 character limit within a folder. There's things that now, because we've gone to the body worn camera, this was coming anyway, but everything kind of came in at once. So we've been working pretty hard to get it up to speed, but it's not about the charges declined. It's just that administrative portion.
Sounds like Crown Council is just making it more complicated.
Local Crown Council, not so much. These are decisions that came in from above, but it is, the expectations are much higher as to how we package our evidence. And General Duty now is expected to put together a package similar to what a major crime investigation would be, which is it's taxing. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Thank you. One last question was just in regards to the mental health files are up significantly. Is that because we've reintroduced a mental health liaison, or not the mental health liaison, but someone in a mental health position, or why are we seeing such a big increase there?
It's a hard one to track. There's different times of year that are difficult. Christmas, obviously, we experience more challenges that find their way in. Overall, the numbers, the wait times per patient, we've had so much with the IH clinician or a social worker who has helped with that, but we've had a vacancy there as well. Having a vacancy with the mental health liaison position doesn't allow us to keep as much up to date on things. They've done good work to get us where we are with the relationship, and we're hoping that we can get back to where we were, building on it.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Councillor Teske.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. And let me start by thanking you for the great work you and your team do to help keep us safe in the community. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Two questions related to community. One, looking ahead, do you see upcoming new opportunities for the community to help get involved in policing as we go forward? And the second question, I'll get them out at the same time. cameras in high crime areas in the community. I know that was an initiative that I think the business community and many of us were very supportive of. So it'd be interesting to know where that is at.
Thank you. Great questions. We are always looking for volunteers. Our community engagement coordinator has been trying to build all our programs, and we will be doing more of a recruiting drive, renewed recruiting drive to try and get more people through. We do have challenges sometimes when it comes to security clearances, and it's not a quick process. Sign up and start working. Some training, but definitely on that. But the second part about the cameras, sorry, can you repeat the question?
Yeah, there's an initiative to get up cameras in the community in high crime areas, which I think would be very helpful going forward.
Yes, and actually, the city of Cranbrook was exploring that, I think, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, like started with that. The artificial intelligence now is leaps and bounds. Like you can get a report of stabbing in progress basically by the cameras and the artificial intelligence recognizing the stabbing motion, not necessarily a live person viewing. We can get the potentials there to actually get a report of a collision at an intersection before it occurs based on the math, that there's no way that you're going to not have a collision based on the driving of. So the Smart City initiative definitely has a lot of value. And just the increase overall in business and personal cameras. It is a lot of data for us, but that's one thing I can say for with the new Axon product for the body-worn cameras, where we were going around trying to get people to download, the right person to do it with whatever with the USB. Now we have a digital system where we send a link and they upload. It converts to what Crown Council needs to play on their systems for the courts. There's a lot of advantages technology-wise, and we are looking to get ahead of all that. Like I think Cranbrook Detachment was the first detachment to use the Echo artificial intelligence while the RCMP were piloting it. We lobbied to test it. It saved a ton of time. The Axon product now is even better again for transcription. We're trying every little workaround technology-wise to our advantage, with the ultimate goal being the safer community and getting more members out on the road and visible to help with that.
Thank you, Barry. A couple of things, I guess. A couple of years ago, we started talking about the focus for Cranbrook on the community policing. And, again, we met last year, 2 years ago, and then, the start of this year. And that was the focus, community policing. And it's quite interesting because we're going to have a couple more administrative updates later tonight from our fire services and our social development coordinator, where I think we're starting to see the results of a community-wide policing, but it's also the community coordination and at every level. So thank you very much for your support. Our bylaw, I mean, they've been so challenged. They couldn't be doing the work they're doing, and they're doing very, very good work right now. And they certainly wouldn't be doing that work without the support of your members. As well, the social agencies that are out there, they're relying on the RCMP to support them when they're out there. And we are seeing a marked difference here in the last 6 months. So thank you very much for that, Barry. Again, the community side, absolutely. Your members, and I know what it's taken, you're short of resources. And I think your staff, certainly it's evident to me that have been working beyond what your regular expectations would be. And, to the point that, it's almost been, at a personal cost to them. So, I just want to acknowledge your staff. And on behalf of council, thank you so much. I think we're really heading in the right direction. It's looking really, really good. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, we're going to move now to bylaws. The first bylaw for consideration tonight is from Engineering Development Services regarding First Street South Road closure and removal of highway dedication bylaw number 4173/2020 2025. This bylaw is before council tonight for first, second, and third reading. Can I ask staff to provide an overview? We have Curtis here.
Pardon me. Thank you, Mayor Price and Council. This bylaw in regards to First Street South closure and removal of highway dedication comes about due to several complaints, inquiries that the Engineering and Development Services Department has received in regards to unsafe road conditions. So we've looked at the road. The road is overly steep above what our standards are. And it's also the sight lines when you're turning onto Victoria Avenue or onto Victoria Avenue, either direction from First Street South. The only way to make these changes would be significant capital upgrades and purchases of people's properties and removal of homes. So to address the problem, we're bringing forward a road closure bylaw to close the road to vehicular traffic, but leave a path open for active transportation such as walking, biking, and so forth.
Thank you, Curtis. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to First Street South Road Closure and Removal Highway Dedication Bylaw number 4173, 2025. Mover, please, Councilor Stetsky, Councilor Bissett. Discussion. Councilor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. If this road is closed down, like you mentioned, it'd be turned into a path. Does that mean that the city will go in and actually do some landscaping to kind of return it more to like a natural landscape, or will it just be barricaded and left as a road that pedestrians can access?
Councillor Peabody, through the mayor, at this point, initially we'll be barricading off the road section, but the path itself would be left asphalt. It's part of the road that's there now. But it will be creating a lot that council could see fit to do whatever they want afterwards, where the vehicular section is being closed.
I don't know if you can answer this or not. That lot, is it large enough to develop on of, a multi-unit housing or single unit, or what would you guess?
Councillor Peabody, through the mayor, the lot is approximately 427 square meters. So that's larger than our minimum lot sizes in the single family residential zone that we have. So staff are planning on bringing forward a proposed OCP and zoning bylaw at a future meeting to rezone it to a residential zone for that single family lot up to a fourplex type of zone. That's to give it an appropriate zone if council wanted to do something with it in the future.
Further, all in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Curtis. Can I get a motion that council give second reading to First Street South Road Closure and Removal Highway Dedication Bylaw number 4173, 2025. Mover, please. Councilor Ray, Councilor Graham. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council give third reading to First Street South Road Closure and Removal Highway Dedication Bylaw number 4173, 2025, and schedule a public hearing for the proposed road closure at 6:00 p.m. February 24th, 2025. Mover, please. Councilor Stetsky, Councilor Graham. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Thanks, Curtis. Oh, you're up for the next one too, are you? Yep. Okay. The next bylaw for consideration tonight is also from Engineering Development Services regarding Corbett Road closure and removal highway dedication number 4180, 2025. This bylaw is before council tonight for first and second reading. Can I ask staff to please provide an overview of this one? Curtis.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Corbett Road closure and removal of highway dedication. For those who don't know, Corbett Road is the name of the road that accesses the old landfill along Highway 95A. Most of the road is actually unconstructed, only a small portion of it is, and it's currently gated. It has been for many years, just for landfill access. So the purpose of this closure is that the city owns the land around it. We'd be looking at amalgamating and undertaking a subdivision with the city's property to subdivide the landfill off from what we could call the developable lands with this road closure. And that would allow us to undertake the environmental studies to move that land forward if council wishes to develop it without actually having to study the landfill itself.
Thank you, Curtis. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to Corbett Road Closure and Removal Highway Dedication bylaw number 4180-2025? Mover, please. Councillor Blissett. Councillor Ray. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Can I get a motion that council give second reading to Corbett Road Closure and Removal Highway Dedication bylaw number 4180-2025 and schedule a public hearing for the proposed road closure at 6 p.m. February 24th, 2025. Mover, Councillor Ray. Councillor Popoff. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thanks, Councillor Popoff. Next bylaw for consideration tonight is from Public Works regarding Waterworks Amendment bylaw number 4182-2025 and water connection fees. This bylaw is before council tonight for first, second, and third reading. We have staff here. Caitlin is going to give us an overview.
Good evening. This bylaw is to recover costs for our city's water turn on and turn off fees. So the last time these fees were updated was in 1986 when the bylaw was created. So we are bringing this forward to be able to recover the full cost of water turn-ons and turn-offs. So this would see an increase from $25 to $140 for a water turn-on. And that covers the fee for both the water turn-on and turn-off, and it keeps the administration process the same as it currently is. We would see these rates effective September is what we're proposing, so that anyone who is doing a new build or has water turn on or turn off, they can plan for that increase in cost.
Thank you. Could I get a motion that council give first reading to Waterworks Amendment bylaw number 4182-2025? Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Blissett. Discussion. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Blissett.
Yep, thank you, Mayor. So how many of these do we actually do in a year? And is it mostly developers or is it our citizens on the street? It's just quite a large increase all at once.
Mayor Price, through to Councillor Stetsky, we see about 160 to 180 requests a year. So this rate change would see about an increase of $18,000 of revenue a year. We typically see it just from our residents, not so much turn off like new builds. So whatever you would see for new occupancies issued would be the change for new builds, but it's typically for water turn-ons or turn-offs for those who are having work done or require emergency turn-off.
Yeah, subsequent, if I might. So if somebody has a water main break, do they have to pay this fee?
Mayor Price, through to Councillor Stetsky, these are for residents who, like, they might have a leak on their side of the property. They would require us to come and turn off the water. That would be what these are for. Anything that's on the city side of the property, the city deals with itself.
Councillor Blissett.
Thank you. So this is another increase in user fees that we've seen from, at least, updating from 1986, which I firmly support. But I would hope that staff are reviewing all of our fees, because we've had this with parking, we had this with the cemetery, and I don't know what all the different fees and charges are in the city, but staff would know in their departments. And I would say things should be updated, I don't know, every 5 years. And certainly, from 1986 to 2025 is too big a gap. And so I think it should be part of administration practice. And I wonder if you could comment on that, CAO Virgil.
Thank you. CEO Virtual, you have a comment?
Certainly. So Mayor Price, through to Councillor Bissett, that is part of the exercise that we've been undertaking this year, especially with the trying to find every penny we can in every department we can for reducing the tax increases and making sure that we're charging appropriately for the services. Like in this regard, what we're trying to do is recover most of the cost of the staff coming to the site to do the work versus subsidizing turn-ons and turn-offs with taxpayer money from other sources. And that is something that we are bringing across through all departments. And that's why council has been seeing a lot of these bylaws come forward. And a lot of them, as you've said, haven't been touched for many years, this one since 86. So it is a big exercise, and it is, I guess the only restriction is that we are, limited in staff capacity to review everything, but we are working through things that do touch the finances with the special fever this year because of the budget shortfalls. So you're seeing these, you're going to continue to see these, and everyone is, when you look at this one, we're also including the ability for escalators through time so that we don't get stuck with something that hasn't even increased 1 penny since 10 years ago or 20 years ago. But certainly the ideal would be to get to a more frequent updating schedule. But with the escalators at 2%, we won't be that far behind as long as we embed them in each one as we do them. So thanks for those comments, and I appreciate council's support as we move forward in making these changes, because that's where it's important, whether it's the cemetery service, the parking, in this case, water shutoffs and turn-ons, that the user of the service is paying for the service versus being subsidized by other property taxpayers, so that the other property taxpayers, when they pay taxes on their homes, they're not getting full value for their street clearing and their fire services and everything else. So it's a great comment, and I really appreciate this council's support for that.
I'd just like to add, we are paying for it. It's just who's paying for it. And so I think this is a more equitable way of having that service paid for, even though it is a cost increase, but the rest, it stops the subsidy. And I think that's important as a way of operating in the future.
Thank you for that. Anything further? Call the question. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council gives second reading to Waterworks Amendment Bylaw number 4182, 2025? Mover, please. Councillor Graham, Councillor Ray. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion that council give third reading to Waterworks Amendment Bylaw number 4182, 2025? Councillor Blissett, Councillor Peabody. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. The final bylaw for consideration is from Engineering Development Services regarding Waterworks Amendment Bylaw number 4183, 2025 and water meters. This bylaw is before council tonight for first, second, and third reading. Can I ask staff to give a brief overview? We have Curtis back up again. Thank you, Curtis.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. This Waterworks Amendment Bylaw has come forward as the RFP for water meter supplies for the new developments has closed. We have selected a proponent subject to council's approval tonight of the budget items. What's driving this is that the supplier with the endpoints, so that the reading apparatus of the water meter can't be supplied in small numbers. So on to individual purchases. So if you were to go buy one from somebody, a local supplier or something, they don't sell them in a one-off. So we have to order them in larger batches. So the idea is that the city would look at purchasing and then resell them as part of our services that we would offer. So in this bylaw, I've addressed a number of the things that were brought up a couple of council meetings ago that were more directive through resolution, put them into bylaw. Put fees into this bylaw to recover costs for the water meters plus 20% to cover our staff's overhead, storage, all of the items to help us cover costs of us doing this as a service to the community. And that 20% is a standard number from my understanding, working with finance on this. So a number of these fees are set out for expenses. So with the development side of it, the idea is with the 20%, us supplying the water meter for the development pretty much breaks even, and then a little bit extra for covering our costs. However, one item here that we haven't discussed before, but in discussion with Public Works, is us supplying water meters to put on when we're replacing services on our side, if we have a break on our side of the property line. Because part of this bylaw is that if they're replacing their service or upgrading it, or if there's a break within 1 meter of the curb stop, that the private owner would have to do it on their side. So to be fair, we thought we would do it on ours when we do around 60 a year. So it slowly gets them in over time. Going in future years, we'll put some more of this into the normal budget process, but because this is coming partway through the year, we're looking at asking for it right now.
Thanks very much, Curtis. Can I get a motion that council give first reading to Waterworks Amendment Bylaw number 4183/2025? Councilor Stetsky, Councilor Bissett. Discussion? Councilor Graham?
Yeah, thank you. Just a couple quick questions. Where's the location of the water pit or meter pit on a new build? That's outside. That's on city property. So it's only going to be on private property if it's digging it up on their side. I'm just looking for some clarity around that.
Yeah, no, that's a good question, Councilor Graham, through the mayor. So with the standard drawing created so far, we're showing three options depending on the situation of what's being done at the time. So if we're going in and replacing the curb stop, it's really easy for us to put it on city property. So that's the plan. There's two options for homeowners that are coming in and doing new builds where the curb stop's currently in place, about a foot away from the property line. So the preferred option would be to put a curve in the pipe and put it on city property and then curve the pipe back in. So I don't, visualization might be tough, but it's still putting it on city property. However, a third option with the approval of staff, if those other two don't work, is that we could put it on the private property right near the property line if need be. Our bylaw allows for that if it has to be, but that's the last resort option.
Yeah, I would just wonder if there was a flexibility there for that. So yeah.
Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you, Curtis. Can I get a motion that council gives second reading to Waterworks Amendment Bylaw number 4183/2025? Mover, please. Councilor Bissett. Councilor Ray. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion that council give third reading to the Waterworks Amendment Bylaw number 4183/2025? Mover, please. Councilor Ray. Councilor Graham. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Can I get a motion that council update the proposed 2025 to 2029 budget by the following? Add a $117,015 expense to all 5 years for the purchase of water meters and endpoints to the water fund. B, add $140,418 income to all 5 years from the sale and supply of water meters and endpoints to the water fund. C, increase the water fund technology IT equipment and software expenses by $3,601 per year for all 5 years to fund the water meter software. D, increase the water fund operational parts, supplies, equipment expenses by $150,000 in 2025, funded from the Water Capital Reserve. E, add a $3,800 one-time expense in 2025 for staff training and water meter software set up for the water fund. And F, add cellular endpoint expense to the water fund as follows: 2025, $1,800, 2026, $3,600, 2027, $5,400, 2028, $7,200, and 2029, $9,000. Can I get a mover, please? Councilor Bissett, Councilor Stetsky. Discussion. Councilor Stetsky.
Yeah, so just quickly, can you explain the annual increases quickly? It's about $1,800 a year, it looks like.
Thank you, Councilor Stetsky, through the mayor, for that question. The endpoint expense and the increases, as we increase the number of water meters in the system, there's a set fee per water meter that we need to pay as part of the software expense for the cellular reading. So this would be covered by usually user fees that we'll look at setting up this year when we review them. So it's due to the number of water meters. As we increase, that fee goes up.
Councilor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. So I guess that raises another question. Are we stuck with one company that we have to subscribe to for this information?
Councillor Peabody through the mayor. No, the different meter companies will read different meter technology. We would just have to work with both companies to make sure that they work if we tried to switch to another one, but a lot of them do work together. But if we do switch to another meter endpoint or company, we have to make sure that they can work together, or we can take the information from both companies and both their meter reading software and put it into our financial software so we can bill accordingly. So we may have to run two separate softwares.
Yeah, so, but with our plan is to stick with one water meter and one company that we subscribe to read the information.
Yes, at this point, the plan is to stay to one. However, at some point, we may want to go out to another provider to see if we can get better pricing or there's better technology in the future. But for then at least the next 3 years, given the RFP, we'd be sticking with this supplier.
Yeah, I'm just curious because it seems like with anything that's a subscription base, usually the fees tend to increase substantially once they get you hooked. So I guess, so how did water meters work? Before there was like cellular technology. Like, what was just manually done where staff would just go from one meter to the other and take a reading?
Councillor Peabody through the mayor. That's correct. The technology has changed over the years. It was just like BC Hydro or Fortis in the past. You'd have to have somebody walking around reading it. Up until just recently, there was a receiver that would be placed outside the home or outside of the pit that you would usually attach to, say, a garbage truck or to a fleet vehicle, so it'd have to be closer in proximity. The two technologies that they're using now are both cellular and radio. The thought is that cellular is a little bit more money, but the radio is even more money for us to start at this point. So at some point if we do go to universal metering, we'll probably end up changing to a radio frequency and set up a couple of antennas in Cranbrook. Okay. But right now cellular is much cheaper for us. So we will likely change reading technologies in a number of years if we do go to universal metering.
Okay. And I guess, is there any risk of this technology becoming redundant like 15, 20 years down the road?
There is a possibility. I can't say for sure that it will or not. It's the newest technology now. Thankfully, it's the less staff time and intrusive that way. However, the meters themselves are warranted for 20 years, so it's anticipated. And a lot of communities are starting to run into this now who have gone to meters that the meters do need to be changed out at some point because they're battery operated. So we have to plan for replacements of these meters starting around 20 years from now. How quick will that be? Will it be 20, 25? I don't know, but they're warranted for 20 years.
Okay, and just for peace of mind, like what's the risk of our provider going bankrupt in 5 years, and then we have all these water meters that we can't read?
You can never say never. I would be unexpected for that to happen with the provider that we've gone to with. Well, the company we're procuring them through might go under. The company, the brand we're using is Neptune. They've been around for many, many decades.
Okay.
And we've been actually speccing them in the city for a few years now on the commercial side. They're the largest supplier of meters in British Columbia.
Okay.
In many, many communities. So we'd be one of the 100 and something communities that would be in the same boat.
Okay, great. No, that's reassuring. Thank you.
Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Moving into new business. First, we have a proposed resolution from Councillor Stetsky in regards to calls for resolutions to the Association of Kootenay and Boundary Local Governments. Councillor Stetsky's motion is attached to the agenda package. I will now read out the proposed motion for council's consideration to the AKBLG. Whereas in Cranbrook Strategic Plan 2024 to 2027, council has committed to responsiveness. We will listen and respond to the community needs and concerns. Pillars and goals. We will continue to build a safe and vibrant community in which to live and work. And whereas the use of illegal drugs is on the increase in Cranbrook, an area for youth under 19 years of age for non-Indigenous and Indigenous citizens, resulting in deaths and overdoses. While there are supports in place locally to help with counseling youth struggling with addictions and their families, the closest communities providing residential recovery centers are in Kamloops and Kelowna. This adds tremendous burdens to our families and our youth seeking help. Therefore, be it resolved that council approves sending a letter under the mayor's signature to the BC Government Ministries, to the Honorable Jody Wickens, Minister of Children and Family Development, to the Honorable Josie Osborne, Minister of Health, the Honorable Sheila Malcolmson, Minister of Social Development and Poverty Reduction, MLA Amna Shah, Parliamentary Secretary for Mental Health and Addictions, requesting that a residential detox and treatment center for youth be established in Southeast British Columbia. A copy of the letter will be forwarded to the Honorable David Eby Premier. Now for the official motion for inclusion in the AKBLG package. Can I get a motion that council endorse the resolution submitted by Councillor Stetsky regarding establishment of a residential detox and treatment center for youth in Southeast British Columbia, and direct staff to submit the resolution and background information to the AKBLG? Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky. Councillor Peabody. Discussion. Councillor Bassett, then Councillor Stetsky. Councillor Graham.
Oh, thank you. I was just wondering if we have any data from East Kootenay Addictions as to back up the statement that the use of illegal drugs is on the increase in Cranbrook, an area for youth under 19. So I don't know, I don't know if staff have that information. Does Councillor Stetsky have that information? Because I think that would be pertinent to this, to actually have the information to say that. I mean, certainly we know there are, significant drug issues around, but I don't know personally, is that an increase in the number of users? Is it related to the increase in toxicity of the supply? Are there less, I don't know the specific information on that. And I think that we need that information to make this more powerful. But maybe you can comment on that, Councillor Stetsky, if you have that information.
Councillor Stetsky.
Sure. Remember when we approved this resolution, it was focused on Cranbrook and having the center located here in Cranbrook. And it was based on discussions that I had with Interior Health at the time. So this was going back, it wouldn't be a year, but it's been a while. And this motion was approved by council previously, with the focus being on moving the center to Cranbrook or building one in Cranbrook, and with a different set of ministers. So it's basically the same resolution that we've approved previously, but adapting it to AKBLGs to get their support by changing the location specific to Cranbrook to locating it to the Southeast Kootenays, because as you know, right now, the youth centers, regardless of whether drugs use is going up or down, which I think it's still going up, currently families have to go to either Kamloops, which is an 8-hour drive, or to Kelowna, which is a 6-hour drive. And in the case of Kamloops, for example, if your child is also going through detox, you have to stay in Kamloops with your child until they get through detox and then find a place in the center. So talking to some of the parents that have gone through it, it's cost them thousands of dollars and totally disrupted their lives, particularly if they have other children still here in Cranbrook to have to go that far away. So regardless of whether it's gone up or down, which I can find out and I can let council know, the resolution stands as is, in my view. I'll say previously approved by council, only now adapting it to AKBLG, because from my perspective, having one located somewhere here in Southeast British Columbia is way better than having to send your kid to Kamloops or Kelowna.
So I'm not debating that.
Yep.
What I'm asking for is that we need to have some specific information with this. And it makes it more powerful if you can have some numbers to back up your statements. So the sentiment is good, but we need some data to go with this, with any letter, and with the resolution to go to AKBLG too, because I think we need that information. So I would like that, before I approve it, I'd like that data to support it, so it has more impact.
Back to Councillor Stetson, and we'll move on to Councillor Graham, Councillor Ray.
And we can get that data, but Councillor Blissett, if it has dropped by 10% or 25%, it does not change the need for this recovery center to be here in terms of what we're voting on tonight.
No, but it can change the wording of the letter or the resolution.
Good, thank you. Councillor Graham?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm unclear on what we're voting on here. Are we voting on the mayor writing the letters, which is fine? I would not be in favor of this as some sort of a resolution going to AKBLG, because there's nothing there. So we need to determine if we're going to, and who's going to write the resolution and make it a Gold Star resolution. I think needs to be our priority, is how do we get this as a Gold Star resolution if we're going to go forward on this. And also, I'm fine with writing letters to the ministers. That's literally what this is asking for. The mayor writes letters, great. But this is not a resolution that I would put forward to AKBLG until it checks all the boxes of a Gold Star resolution, which is laid out in the resolution handbook.
Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. My suggestion, just in terms of looking at the resolution that is, I think, the draft AKBLG resolution, and further to Councillor Blissett's, good point about we want to be evidence-based and what's the data. But I mean, a potential change in wording could be because right now we don't have the data in front of us about on the increase, but we do know it is a very serious concern. So that's just a potential wording change, because yeah, we don't have the numbers about usage, but it is a very serious concern because of, for sure, we know the toxicity of the drug supply and overdoses and those kinds of things. Following Councillor Graham's input, is there value in deferring this motion and looking at the guidelines from AKBLG in terms of perhaps, just ensuring the motion is as strong as possible? Do we want to entertain a motion to defer?
I'll send that back to Councillor Stetsky.
So if you read the motion, it says, council approves sending a letter under the mayor's signature to BC government ministers. So that's really what we're voting on tonight. That's what's in the resolution. In terms of drafting a better resolution with more recent input from Interior Health, I think that can be the next step. But as is pointed out, this is just about sending a letter to the ministers at this point, the way the resolution is currently worded.
Councillor Graham?
Yeah, yes, I get that, but 8.1 says like for AKBLG Youth Recovery Center, like a resolution for AKBLG. So that's where my confusion is. Like this isn't this is a Cranbrook. We've listed stuff in Cranbrook that it isn't relevant when we would draft a resolution for AKBLG. So that's all I was looking for. Is like because AKBLG is not going to vote on whether the mayor writes a letter. So that's where I was looking for clarity on what this was.
Further? Councillor Popoff. Sorry, Rod.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Listening through all this, I think where we're going here is if the mayor is going to write these letters, then that stays within city council. If we're asking for resolutions that go through AKBLG onward to UBCM, those actions are then directed towards AKBLG taking an action or UBCM taking an action. And I think what I'm hearing from the motion from Councillor Stetsky is it's more directed towards the city of Cranbrook at this point. So my position would be that we, the city, take this on right now, unless the wording wants to be an action item for AKBLG to take on, or to approve through AKBLG and direct UBCM to take on as an action item.
Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. It seems like we have two levels of motions here, and I think we might have accidentally gotten confused between, what's a city council motion, and it actually was not an AKBLG motion at this point. So we have this motion that's in the package, and then we have a separate motion that the mayor then read. Is that the motion that's on the table, Mayor Price, is the second one that you read?
That's the one that's on the table. Exactly.
I wonder if maybe we want to defeat that motion and just go back to the original motion in the package?
Totally.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's not a bad idea because we're dealing with two different things here, correct? So what we're dealing with right now is the motion that council endorse a resolution submitted by Councillor Stetsky regarding the establishment of a detox and treatment center for youth in Southeast British Columbia and direct staff to submit the resolution and background information to AKBLG. So do we want to defeat that and then something a little more clear be brought forward in terms of resolution, even you want to make two, but this is pretty confusing. Councillor.
Yes, I would like to defeat that. And then if Councillor Stetsky wants to bring back a bunch more information that would work into an AKBLG format, then we can vote whether we want to utilize staff time to make it a gold star resolution. So that I'm 100% behind that. So then we can have that debate whether this is something we as a council want to push forward to AKBLG. But on this one, writing the letters. Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Stetsky.
Can you just read that again? So, because it mentions staff.
Yes, I will. But going back to Councillor Graham just for a moment, because in this resolution, now what it's saying now, the official motion for inclusion to the AKBLG, you see where, right? And then we talk about the letter and the detox. So why don't we defeat this motion? And if you want to roll one more out or roll two out, I'm fine with that. Does that work? Fair? I'll call the question. All in favor? All opposed? Okay. That's defeated. Now, what do we want for a motion here? What do we want to accomplish here tonight?
So I think if you just read the motion as per the information you have there, which is asking you to write a letter to the ministers.
So therefore, okay, that council approves sending a letter under the mayor's signature to the government ministries, requesting that a residential detox and treatment center for youth be established in Southeast British Columbia. A copy of the letter will be forwarded to the Honorable David Eby, Premier. Fair? Okay. Discussion. Councillor Bissett.
Thank you. And we'll see the letter before you send it out. So,
Yes.
and maybe that letter will have some current information from Interior Health or East Kootenay Addictions to back up the request.
Okay. Anything further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next we have another proposed resolution from Councillor Stetsky regarding establishment of a Heritage Arts and Culture Committee. I'll read out the full motion for council's consideration. Whereas Cranbrook's official community plan and community members have identified the need for a Heritage Arts and Cultural Committee, therefore be resolved that city staff prepare terms of reference for a Heritage Arts and Cultural Committee for council's consideration at the March 24th, 2025 regular meeting of council. Mover, Councillor Stetsky, seconder, Councillor Ray. Discussion, Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you. I brought this forward for a couple of reasons. One, if you read our official community plan, it states in there that this committee is already there and operating and providing advice to city council on heritage issues. So that tweaked my interest. And of course, we had a letter from one of our very good community members suggesting that this committee should be set up as well. Now, I went online and checked, and there are a number of other communities. I know Cranbrook did have one of this committee set up in the past, and for some reason canceled it. I wasn't part of that process or decision, so perhaps someone here may want to explain why that committee was canceled at the time. But there are a number of communities that have this committee in place. There's not that much work required, quite frankly, because the terms of references are there. I went online and read them for a number of different communities. So that wouldn't be that hard to find. And I believe I mentioned just in passing to my colleagues around the table that I'd be willing to be the council rep on that committee. So there wouldn't be any additional work on your behalf if the council so decided that I should be the rep on that committee. But it started with the official community plan saying we already have one and that we listen to it.
Thank you. Councillor Graham.
Yeah, thank you. I think before I would be interested in voting on adding any other committees, I would like to see a bit of indication from our CAO and CFO on time commitments from staff and how that equates to dollar values. So, you know, we're working hard to maximize our staff time and prioritize our staff time. And I'm just unsure if this would meet the threshold of that. So I would like to see something that would show us this out a bit more fully costed to truly understand what it means and the workload that would ensue.
Thank you. Further? Just from my perspective, I sat on that committee during my term as a councillor, and I believe we had one meeting, and prior to that, whatever before on the term before, there was no meetings. So, you know, what I think is the history there, Councillor Stetsky, is that when we were looking at committees, we looked at how effective are they? You know, it was time to tidy things up. We had some outstanding committees, and they looked at that one, and really, it really didn't warrant the time. You know, to put a committee together when you're having a meeting once every 6 or 8 years. The demand wasn't there from the heritage or the cultural societies in town. Go ahead.
Just clarification, if I might. So you had a committee, but the community members of the committee weren't participating? Is that what happened, or?
The only time they were having meetings is if there was an issue. If there was something they wanted to bring forward and talk about it, if it was a heritage issue or a cultural issue. So that was the only time that the meetings were scheduled. So there was no issues. I think that I think the only one I was present for was the Orthodox Church, I think on 7th Avenue, when they wanted to do something with the heritage building to it, and it just went through it, and basically the committee just gave their blessing, you know, for the renovation that they did. So, yeah. Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's defeated. Thank you, Councillor Stetsky. The next item for new business tonight is from Public Works regarding fleet asset management and use policy number 60-301, fleet electrification plan and community EV charging plan. Can I ask staff to run a brief overview of the report, please? Brief overview comparatively to the package that was sent out. That's quite a package there.
Yes, good evening. I'll make it brief. So yeah, we received funding through FCM in November of 2023 to do this project. So it had 3 objectives, and the first one being the creation of a fleet asset management policy and procedure, the development of a fleet electrification plan, and the development of a community electric vehicle charging plan. So the fleet asset management policy and procedure, the purpose of that was mainly just to formalize the processes that we're currently doing with our fleet and the management of fleet, including everything from safety, decals, everything you would consider in procurement as well as management of fleet. The fleet electrification plan, it was a review of all of the fleet at the city and how moving forward we can consider fleet electrification. It not only included the fleet electrification itself, but also the infrastructure required to support that and the costs required for that. And then we had a community electric vehicle charging plan. So that is to provide a roadmap with both city as well as private locations that could be ideal for EV chargers in the future as EVs get more use and you see more in the community.
Thank you very much. Can I get a motion that council approve the new fleet asset management and use policy number 60-301? Mover, please, Councillor Bissett. Councillor Graham. Discussion. Councillor Bissett, Councillor Stetsky.
Thank you, and thank you for your work on this, Caitlin. Just an observation, in driving from British Columbia to Ontario for the last few years with an electric vehicle, what has changed is the number of electric vehicles. The amount of charging infrastructure, at least through most of the provinces, hasn't changed much. And so that complete, we need to have, the chicken and the egg at the same time, right? And in Southern Ontario, excuse me, the charging infrastructure has increased, but through the north and Ontario and across to British Columbia, it really hasn't in quite a few years. So I'm appreciative of your full plan here. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. I guess that means I should stop talking.
Councillor Stetsky. Then Councillor Peabody.
I have to say that is probably one of the most detailed policies that I've ever read. It covers just about everything you can possibly imagine related to vehicles. So it just struck me as I was going through it that anyone that says they don't have enough guidance on how to use a City of Cranbrook vehicle hasn't taken time to read the policy.
Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. And I'll ask this question saying that I haven't read the whole policy. But I do see it, like it mentions the service technicians in here, but it raises the question that our staff now, do you know, are they capable of, like our service technicians we have now, are they capable of working on the EV vehicles that we currently have? Or do we have to send those back to the dealer?
Mayor Price through to Councillor Peabody. Our mechanics at Public Works, there are some of them that are trained for EVs.
Okay.
So yeah, we have 4 EVs at the city, and depending on, I guess, what the problem is, they are able to work on some of those vehicles.
Perfect. So it's not a big step to get our mechanics trained up to that level.
That's correct.
Okay. And then I do see in here that you also do have wording for standby power sources. So if there is a power outage, that the city of Cranbrook is looking at either backup generators or solar panels to help power our EV fleet if need be.
Mayor Price through to Councillor Peabody, we would be required to have something if we were to have a significant amount of our fleet in with EVs. Right now, we just have more of those day-to-day use vehicles, not any of our heavy equipment. But yeah, we would be required just because we need to provide emergency services in some situations.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Further? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Can I get a motion that council receives the fleet electrification plan and community EV charging plan for information? Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Bissett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you. Yeah, again, just to reiterate what Councillor Stetsky said, fantastic job on that, guys. It's a great package. The next item of new business tonight is from Finance and Recreation and Culture regarding Western Financial Place emergency replacement of boiler number 1. We have staff here to give us an overview of this.
I'm
Charlotte?
going to let Trevor take
Trevor?
sort of the technical side of this. And
Okay.
of course, I'm here to back up Trevor on any of the issues that pertain to
Yeah.
finance.
Evening, Mayor and Council. So our boiler number one at Western Financial Place, I provided an update back in late 2024. So we had our annual inspection done. We found a pinhole leak after the inspection was done, so they passed, and then subsequently glycol leak was found. We tried to repair, investigate, repair. These are well below their expected life expectancy. So we thought a repair was possible, and it turned out it wasn't. And going forward, we started sourcing solutions. So we brought an engineer on board to find out what we need, what's better for us now, and determine that there was issues from the get-go, i.e. boilers were undersized, pumps are undersized from the initial build. And at this point, we were getting into a time crunch with the boiler being replaced in order to protect the city assets if we did get a cold snap. And that's where we ended up sole sourcing the boiler purchase and the other parts and pieces to install, just based on the manufacturing time of these boilers. There was an RFQ that went out for the installation portion of it. To date, the installation and programming and as-built are not completed. They're very close to being completed. But we have already gone over budget by $28,866. The original estimate was $300,000. We're currently sitting at $328,866. And bringing the engineer on board to complete the as-built, we discovered that the main pumps that push this glycol throughout the system. So the boilers provide heating of the pools, heating of the spaces, and heating of the domestic hot water. And these two pumps, one is supposed to be a backup to the other. Both pumps are currently working nonstop, full speed, because they are undersized. You'll see in the report that there's actually a picture of the old boiler next to the new boilers, a picture of all four new boilers, and then there's one that looks like some white piping and some red pumps. It's tough to see in the pictures, but I can describe it to you. The pipes that go in and out of these pumps are 3 inches, but the pipes that are actually on the pump are 1-inch pipes. So this has been a big red flag with the engineer. Right now, it's recommended that we replace these two pumps. The backup pump is actually on a VFD, so it's only supposed to be on demand really when it needs to work. Whereas the front pump, the red one there, is supposed to be working all the time. So we're investigating right now if this is part of the problems with our super hot water in our showers, our lack of heat in some parts of the building. And it's an ongoing challenge. So everything is working. It's not working as intended. We're having issues because we purchased the boilers ourselves and got the installation separately, as opposed to a single package product, just based on, is it the install that's not working as intended? Is it the control programming that's not working as intended? Is it the machines themselves that aren't working as intended? So this is what's taking that length of time to get the final install completed. These two pumps, which is the request today with council, is to replace the piping and the pumps for proper sized pumps, which the hope is that at a minimum, it fixes our heating issues, and it will help contribute to the control of the super hot water in the showers and change rooms.
Thank you, Trevor.
Councillor, pardon me, Mayor Price. So one of the things we did want to highlight to council is that we did sole source the boilers with the information, using the information we had available at the time. And we have subsequently had a local supplier reach out and question why we didn't why we didn't approach them for a quote. And pardon me, as Trevor alluded to, we were acting in good faith on securing the asset, and it was felt it was a rush against time. It is something that has been identified as a gap in our procurement policy, that we need better structure around our emergency procurement measures. And as council knows, we are taking a look at the procurement policy. Hopefully, the idea would be to bring something back to council this year, and that is an area that needs some robust work, is how to ensure that everyone who is capable of assisting in an emergency is given the opportunity, because that didn't happen here. And we have had communication with that vendor and have told them that the report is coming to council tonight, and that council would be advised of the gap that was encountered during this process with regard to that.
Thank you. Can I get a motion that council approve additional funds for the repair of boiler number 1, including the coverage of $30,000 and additional $30,000 to be funded from the facilities reserve mover, please? Councilor Bissett? Councilor Ray? Discussion. Councilor Stetsky?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. So you included 3 photos with the report. Can you tell us what we're actually approving, funding, or replacing? Do you have those in front of you, the three photos that it came with the report?
Mayor Price through to Councillor Stetsky. Yeah, so in the photo that has the white piping
And the little red?
and the little red pump, yes. So the 2 pumps, there's the white one, or pardon me, the red one in the front and the black one that's right behind it.
And what was the 300,000 for? It was mentioned earlier.
So on Mayor Price through to Councillor Stetsky, on photo number 3, if it shows chronological in here, though, you'll see the 4 boilers that look like large stainless steel fronted fridges. Yes, those are the new boilers.
All right, thank you.
That's including the install labor, the programming, the engineering behind it, whatnot.
Councilor Peabody?
Thank you, Mayor. So Trevor, the extra $30,000, just so I'm clear, is that to fix the pipes in photo number 2, to resize them so the new boilers work more efficiently? Is that what we're approving?
Mayor Price through to Councillor Peabody. So it's the 2 white pipes that you see vertical.
Yep.
And then at the bottom on the ground, there's the 2 red bell housings and the red and black bell housing in the back.
Yep.
The distance between those 2 pipes is what is all going to be replaced. The pumps and the pressure reducing valves and all of the fittings.
Okay. So the distance between those 2 pipes is what is part of the issue of what's causing the hot water, like the overly hot water in the showers? Is that what you're saying? Or that's what we're speculating?
Mayor Price through to Councillor Peabody. So the engineer has seen a lot of things that they are not happy with.
Okay.
This is one of those starts. Once we get these boilers working correctly, where the temperature of the glycol at the other ends of the building, where it's supposed to get to, is actually up to temperature, then we can start back sourcing everything else.
Okay. And then, so Charlotte, you mentioned that there was, another company that was talking about why weren't they asked to, come and do a quote? Were they offering a different solution, or were they just saying that they could have, done the same thing and just wanted to kick at the can?
Councillor Peabody through Mayor Price, the information that they provided was that they carried the same or supplied the same model of boilers, and that they would have liked to have had an opportunity to quote on the boilers. So as Director Thors mentioned earlier, we had the boilers themselves was one piece of the original $300,000 estimate that we brought to council in September. And then the other piece was the install. And then there was, I believe there was probably a contingency in that. Yes, and there were a number of options being kicked around earlier before we landed on this solution. At one point, we were considering installing temporary boilers and looking at a price tag of $1 million for a rebuild, and the temporary boilers were going to cost $18,000 a month to rent. And so as we were trying to see our way past that horrible solution and come up with something else, there was a lot of ideas sort of being bantered around until we landed at this 4 stacked solution. And at that time, as we suggested, it was felt that it was becoming very, very urgent. And the understanding was that the time to, and I'm going to say manufacture, and I'm not sure if that's the right term, or supply the boilers, we were running out of time. And the vendor that we did go with were able to provide the product. The other local vendor are suggesting that they could have done the same.
Okay, so the issue isn't what we installed, it's just what you're talking about is just how we went about selecting the vendor.
For that particular issue related to this project, yes, exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
great, thank you.
Further, council? All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Good luck, Trevor. The final item of new business tonight is from Engineering Development Services regarding multi-family development permit and parking variance at 2008th Street North. Can I ask staff to provide a brief overview of the report?
Good evening, Mayor and Council. You might recognize the location of this project. In the spring of 2024, Council approved a rezoning or an amendment to increase the density from C2 to a high density residential in order to facilitate a 49-unit multi-unit residential building. The application tonight is twofold. We're presenting a parking variance and then the supplemental development permit. Right now in the development procedures bylaw, when a variance application accompanies a development permit, it still has to come to council for approval. So that hasn't been delegated yet. So currently our parking regulations require 2 stalls per unit, which would require 98 stalls for this development. The applicant is proposing that the market for this building would be for seniors that are kind of transitioning out of their larger homes and into something smaller. And then it would also still be provided as like a market rate. At this point, there's been no indication whether it would be a strata or a rental building. So to support the construction of this project, the variance would be required up to 50% reduction, allowing up to 1 stall per unit. Based on the project location, it's centralized to amenities and shopping, located just off Victoria Avenue. And so staff believe that 1 stall would be appropriate. The highlights of this project that we've outlined in the development permit are, this is the first example that we've seen in Cranbrook where a developer is using the opportunity of density bonusing. So they're providing an additional 60 square meters of recreational amenity space. to gain 5 additional units. They've provided bike parking. I believe it's page 2 of the second attachment that shows the site plan. You'll see a patio amenity area at the rear of the building, dog park option. They've proposed bike parking closer to the building, and then also visitor parking close to the pedestrian access onto the pedestrian way on Victoria. Further, it is just a really high quality looking design that we're in a high density location, really prominent location in town that we're excited to see come forward.
Thank you very much, Santana. Can I get a motion that council approve development variance permit 3090.20.2501 to replace the minimum required parking stalls for a multifamily apartment building from 2 units per stall to 1 stall per unit for 2000 8th Street North, legally described as Lot 2, District Lot 4, Kootenai District Plan 11973. Mover, please. Councillor Stetsky, Councillor Graham. Discussion. Councillor Bassett.
Thank you. I'm just not, how many visitor parking stalls are there included in the plan? I see the map, but I'm not sure of it.
I believe they're only required to provide 1 parking stall per 50 required stalls, so they might be squeaking just underneath that. But I will confirm that. They are providing the required accessible parking stalls, so I will confirm with that.
Because we're looking at 49 units, correct?
Correct.
So there'd be 49 stalls for each, 1 for each unit. But then I would suggest, I mean, based on no knowledge, but just experience, 5 visitor stalls, something like that seems reasonable. You do have 6 stalls for EV charging. That's good. Sometimes those end up getting used as visitor stalls if there aren't enough. So I do think that is something that staff might want to look at, is how many visitor stalls. I certainly wouldn't want to see 1 if it's 1 for 50. I don't believe that's enough.
Thank you. Councillor Graham. I'm sorry, Councillor Peabody, then Councillor Graham. Apologize. Yep.
Santana, my question is there room for, I guess, overflow parking on 8th Avenue? Just adjacent to the development. Looks like a lot of that sort of backs onto the trailer park. Do we know if there's no room in the parking lot, will cars be allowed to park along the street there? And it's hard to see in the photo, is there a sidewalk to access the development if cars are parking on the street?
To Councillor Peabody through the chair. There's no parking permitted on Victoria, but I don't believe there would be, the TAC requirements wouldn't permit the parking along 8th, but the developer will be responsible for building the sidewalk along that portion. I might defer to Curtis if he's in the room still to speak on the parking.
Yeah, sorry, Curtis. And then just a correction there. It's along 8th Street North, not 8th Avenue. Just going along sort of the back end of the trailer park.
Councillor Peabody through the mayor. Yeah, as it stands right now, yes, there is on-street parking available there on both sides. So there would be the ability to, if there were visitors and there wasn't any on-site parking nearby, there would be the ability to park as it stands right now. If future development changes, then that would be impacted. But right now there is parking available on 8th Street North, immediately adjacent to the development.
Yeah, because to me, it's safe to assume that, half of these units, half of the 49 may have 2 vehicles in the household. It's also probably safe to assume that they're going to have guests that come over to visit every now and then that will drive there. So for me to have 49 parking spaces for 49 units seems like a bad idea. It brings me some comfort that there is street parking adjacent to it, but I don't know if there's a sidewalk along the same side of the street that the unit's on. Yeah. Yeah, I would like to send this back to the developer to see if there's a way to squeeze in at least some guest parking into the development, if that's possible.
To Councillor Peabody through the chair, the developer has indicated that it would be the market for these units are seniors that are downsizing, often don't have multiple vehicles, typically single family or single individual households. Yeah, they initially had proposed a 0.8 units. They had said that they had the information to support a 0.8 stall per unit based on other market examples in other communities that they have built this comparable building. Staff recommended that 0.8 stalls was not sufficient based on how Cranbrook is still a car-centric location, but that was their our compromise, I guess, for their application. The sidewalk along 8th Street North doesn't exist right now, or if it doesn't exist right now, I know it's not on their site plan, but the developer would be responsible for constructing that sidewalk on that side.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
Sorry, just to clarify that. So when you're saying the developer would be developing the sidewalk, where would that sidewalk connect to?
To Councillor Peabody through the chair, the requirements of our bylaw demand that the sidewalk be built to the edge of the furthest part of the property line, so up until the edge. I guess that would be the
Great.
most.
Yeah, no, thank you.
Councillor Graham?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, I think this is exciting to see. I have zero issues at all with the parking. I think it'll be fine. There is on-street parking. And then I guess my biggest question is they'll put that sidewalk in, but there's a sidewalk going to nowhere. Like you Google Earth it, like it's just a dirt path everywhere else. Like no one else is building down further. So we're going to make them build and spend money on 50 meters of sidewalk that go nowhere. So it's not like it's connecting to anything. Like across the road, there's a gap you could fill, I would argue, but on that side of the road, there's nothing. So I would question that, but I'm fully comfortable with this.
Thank you. Further? I'm very comfortable with this as well. It's my understanding that they built this exact type of unit in another city with the exact parking specifications, and there's been no issues. It's the seniors housing, and if I think the location, part of the reason that they're building it where they're building it is it's close to everything. It's in with walking distance of pretty well, everything you can do. It's got all the amenities within a couple of blocks of it. So I think that certainly supports, the reduction in the parking. So I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Councillor Popoff, were you in favor? Opposed? You're in favor? Okay, so.
I'm in favor.
Thank you, Ron. That's carried with one opposed. So Councillor Peabody's opposed. Can I get a motion that council approved development permit 3060.20.2502 for a multi-family development project for 2008 Street North, illegally described as Lot 2, District Lot 4, Kootenay District Plan 11973. Mover, please. Councillor Ray, Councillor Bassett. Discussion. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried unanimously. Thank you so much. Moving on to administrative updates. The first administrative update tonight is from Fire and Emergency Services. Yeah, betcha. Thank you. Regarding emergency call volume from Q4 2024, we have Chief Driver here to provide the update.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm happy to be here tonight to deliver a Q4 administrative update for the Cranbrook Fire Department. Yeah, it was a interesting year for Cranbrook Fire and Emergency Services. We had in total 2,431 calls for service, which is 5.9% higher than 2023. And that's good news for us because 2022 was 36% jump to 2023. So the rate at which we're accelerating into the world of service demands is decreasing somewhat, and I thought I needed to mention that as it slowed down a little bit in 2024, and we can notice it in our organization. Quarter four specifically was significantly quieter than quarter number three, but quarter number three is our summer season and is traditionally and is always going to be our busy season. There's a lot of wildfire pressure on the community, and we see that in the fire service certainly. So there were 522 calls for service in quarter number four, as opposed to the 687 calls for service in quarter number three. Geographically, and the map is attached to the administrative update, we do have pretty standard geographical representation of where the call volume is coming from in the community. It's in sort of the higher density, more commercial and the older parts of the community. Once again, in quarter four, and an annual 2024 map shows that same type of response geographical distribution. As I was looking through the data for quarter number four, I was able to identify some pretty interesting patterns that we started to see. And the reason I have Marcel beside me here is that I started to see some significant decreases in the patterns with respect to what we normally consider our calls to service the homeless population and those citizens that are challenged in that capacity. So persons down calls is a pretty significant indicator there, and they were down 28% in quarter number four. Overdose calls were down 60% as well, which is huge. That pattern is similar across the province. Last week, the provincial government released statistics that their overdose call volume for 2024 was down 13%. But I do need to note we're down 60 in quarter four, so pretty significant in the community. And it made me kind of pause and think what else is going down. And so one other very significant statistic that I'm certainly happy about, and I do want Marcel to kind of start speaking after this, is the nuisance campfire calls that we received in the city are down over 60%. In 2024. And I feel it's necessary to once in a while bring good news to council and to the community. And what I want to say is that I think that's as a result of some of the really challenging work that we're doing with our homeless community, and as a result of some of the very good and difficult work that our partners on the Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness is doing. And this is where I'm going to need to hand it over to Marcel, because this is her bailiwick, not mine.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. It is exciting news, and believe it or not, we did not coordinate our admin updates for tonight. So when it just happened to fall on the same day, but when he called me and said, "Hey, come and look at these stats," we were very excited to see them too. I do believe that some of the decreased calls out that they are seeing is in direct relation to the hard work that all of our community partners are doing out at Common Ground and in all of our surrounding sites where people are tenting outside. We did a lot of prevention and education prior to winter coming. So through our fall season of preparing their campsites for fire protection. If you go up there, you'll notice a lot of the camps are dirt right up to they've raked away everything that could burn up to their thing or up to their site. We've worked really hard with the community partners in doing education about better heat sources, better ways to how to store your propane, just prevention services, things like that. Fire suppression, we've put out fire extinguishers and had a couple of reliable folks out there that could respond to a small fire before it became a big fire. Just all of those things, and I think they've all just come together and worked up there. And that is all in partnership with all the community partners. If you go up to Common Ground on any given day now, you can't be out there for more than an hour without outreach happening up there. And actually Thursdays, I've started to pull back up there a bit because we see when I go up there, there's so much that, you know, the people are up there. And it's not only that we're working on fire suppression, which is great because that relieves the some of the pressure on our emergency services, which is one of our primary goals in the beginning. It means that we're out there, people are out there in real time intervening and helping and supporting when things are happening in the moment. Now segueing into my admin report, unless anybody wanted to, we wanted to stop and ask questions.
Questions, Scott, Councillor Pesky?
Just a quick question. Thank you for your presentation. The fire, maybe I shouldn't use the word proofing, but prevention and the community forest on the northeast part of the forest. I thought it was this winter, but maybe it's not till next winter. Can you just comment on that?
There is some wildfire risk reduction work happening in the community forest. It is at the southwest corner, so closer to the golf course and Edgewood Drive. That's happening through the Ministry of Forest District's office. They've done quite a bit of work kind of trying to educate the community. We're supporting some of that media relations, and I'm getting some phone calls at my office in the last few weeks because the work has started. There's fresh flagging tape up where they're doing that work. And they'll be working throughout the winter, yeah. It's all organized with the province of British Columbia Rec Sites and Trails, and the Community Forest Society is very well aware of it.
Yeah, I've seen the work and appreciate that it's happening there by the golf course and Edgewood Drive. But the larger project, which had the public meeting, was held last year in terms of doing significant clearing.
Oh, yeah.
There, because that's for next winter, I guess.
Yeah.
I thought
So, Councillor Setsky, the work that started just recently is phase one of the greater project. It's all the same project. It's just in phases over a number of years. Yeah.
Further? Okay, Marcel, floor is yours.
So my admin update was
Go
just to sort of come forward and do a quick update on the mayor's task force, who, as you remember, we were scheduled to commission back in July of 2024. However, we were just kind of getting our boots on the ground and really seeing some movement. And so when we met, we paused for the summer, came back in September. The task force decided they would like to continue for this year, going down to meeting one time a month. So we continue to meet one time a month, and we are working really diligently on building or putting the foundation for all the recommendations that the task force had put forward and finding ways to implement them. So we have brought some new members onto the task force who are, again, community partners. And as we move forward with as we move forward with implementing recommendations, we're reaching out to community partners and to funders and things so that we're creating that momentum. Some of the recommendations, if you remember, was one, a community engagement and a communication strategy. So we are working really hard to get a website up and running that would house collective information. It would house ability to communicate through surveys and forms. We would have resources and funding opportunities on there. Just a place where anybody in the community can access to find out what the task force is up to and what all the community partners of the task force are. They would be able to put things up onto the webpage as well. We are moving forward with community consultation. We just had a pre-session for many of our community partners working on collaborative practice, which will lead into a facilitated event on March 13th. And again, that is for more focus for our community partners that are coming together to work on homelessness and really to increase our collective impact across our community. The task force, as far as the 24-hour drop-in center, that was one of our other recommendations. We have shifted that a little bit simply because we recognize that we didn't want to be competing with our daytime services who are already taxed for dollars and stuff like that funding opportunities. So we've kind of shifted it to an after hours and weekend that we're trying to fill that gap to have those peaks or services in off-peak hours. We have put forth a couple of funding proposals through grants, and we're waiting to hear back on those. And then we're shifted to to expanding our already services. So we've approached 3 of our nonprofits who already do this work. We're saying how, you know, if you could expand your services to cover any of those after hours or weekends, would you be available? They've showed interest in that. And so that's one model that we would look at. And then the second model would be a church has also showed some interest in offering their space for that. So if the 3 agencies decided, no, that's not what we wanted to do, even if we had the funding and whatnot, then we would look at the church model. The day pay program is probably something that is creating the most excitement right now. We have piloted some very small initiatives. With one would be our wood cutting up at Common Ground. We did purchase some wood, and now we hire some of the folks up there to somebody cuts the wood and then they deliver it to the campsites and whatnot. So we're keeping people with wood through the winter. It's been successful. The people are showing up and it's good. So that is one. And then doing some cleaning up at the campground. We've hired some day pay people to do some of that. And so that's another smaller version successful. And we're trying to build that out. The task force meets next week, and we do have Hire Good coming to present to us. And I'm not sure if I've mentioned Hire Good, but they're out of Edmonton that started as a very small initiative like this. And last year, I think they were like a $7 million business. So they've really showed, they're really leading the way in how this can be done. So they're coming to present to us, and Paul is working really actively with not Hire Good, but DART out of Prince George. We're using their business model and whatnot to build out our own. So that's another one that we're working with our community partners to make that happen. And then Common Ground itself is moving along. It is one of those really messy, fascinating kind of things that we're working on. Our people, the amount of people out there have stayed pretty stable as far as how many people are there. Without statistics behind it, we have no known overdose deaths and no accidental fires from the people that we are supporting, which is a huge difference from what we saw on the berm last year during the winter. So that alone brings all of us a lot of, I don't know what the right word is, but we're happy with the work is being done. And we do believe it's making a difference in the community on some of those levels. And the other thing about Common Ground is it started as a task force initiative. We kind of got it going, we got the things going, but now it's pretty much been handed off to the community. We still support, we're still involved in it, but the community are the ones. So we have Interior Health, we have probation, we have homeless outreach, we have the churches, we have our Indigenous partners. There's just a lot of groups up there doing a lot of stuff, and we're still building it out, and we've got some exciting plans for spring. But the task force is in a position where they can kind of step back from that one a little bit. So I think that's pretty sort of the update on the things that the task force has been doing and the successes that we're seeing. And then another thing that right now is really front and center with everybody is the extreme weather shelter with the cold that we've had. Again, this year we have been challenged with our very first opening being a 10-day opening. I think they shut for 3 days or something, and then the cold weather hit again. And this one now we're going into week 2 of this one. So I do know that the volunteers and the staff that are doing the extreme weather shelter are giving it their all, and it is a well-coordinated system this year. We have the emergency shelter that opens every night from 7 p.m. to 8:30 in the morning. On weekends, we have a church that is opening their doors to be a warming center for us during the weekend hours. And then Anchors has, not only are they staffing the extreme weather shelter, but they are also expanding the hours of their business from 4:00 p.m. to 7 o'clock at night. So we have something open for people at all times. We also have outreach that goes out, starts at 6 o'clock at night, that's transporting people to the shelter. We've worked with RDAK to get the funding through the emergency management to help us for those expanded services. every night our extreme weather shelter has been full. I think there was one night, probably the last night of before they closed the first round, where I think we went down to 10 people. But other than that, it has been 12 people in the center using the space every night. And I don't have the stats from the last few days, but up until I think Tuesday, it was full every night. And I'm assuming it still is because it's colder now. So it is saved. We definitely know it's saved lives. And we have seen the community come together on this with volunteer, with donations, with calls out for somebody needing help. We have the hospital calling the shelter before releasing people in the evening. It is a well-coordinated system this year, and that is again due to the community partners and the strategizing from the mayor's task force that helped put it together. Yeah, and I just, as the social development coordinator, I just would really want to express my thank you to the council for supporting the mayor's task force and then the hard work that it's done, and also to the community for the collective efforts in moving these kind of initiatives forward. Oops.
And thank you very much, Marcel. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you, and thanks again for your great work. When you're referring to the emergency shelter, the church is kind of at the far end of the spectrum in terms of opening their doors, but as I understand it. But so when you say emergency shelter, are you talking about the motel and anchors and the churches, or how does that all fit together? Or where people are going?
Councillor Sutsky, through to the mayor. The extreme weather shelter opens, it's an overnight shelter. So it opens from 7 p.m. to 8:30 in the morning, and then it closes its doors. People are expected to leave. What Anchors has done, because still from 4 to 7, it can be really cold, and so they've opened their space from 4 to 7 as a warming shelter during the week, Monday to Friday. Then they transport anybody that's at their building over to the shelter. The staff from Anchors does staff the extreme weather shelter, the evening one. And then in the morning on the weekends, if it's Saturday and Sunday, then people are transported to another church, the Alliance Church, down at the other end of town. So we have 2 churches involved in our cold weather planning, and we have Anchors, who expands their services, and then we have all of our agencies providing some outreach.
So basically, they're all full. That's what you've been saying for the last little while.
The overnight shelter is full, and Travel Lodge, which BC Housing funds a few extra rooms through the winter, they are full every night as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
I still get asked about tiny homes and when and if Cranbrook is going to move to tiny homes. That might be a question more for our CAO or the mayor or for you, but I still get asked that quite regularly. As you know, Kelowna has tiny homes. There are other communities across Canada, and so that's still a question I get asked.
I don't know if CA, did you say you wanted to mark our? Okay.
Mayor Price through to Councillor Stetsky. So we've been reviewing the options around tiny homes and, you know, what the experiences in other communities and so looking forward for Cranbrook, kind of what we'd like to work towards is more of a longer term solution. So supportive housing, which is more of like a multifamily type of a facility than the tiny homes, because you know, the difficulty in managing a site with the tiny homes, the amount of units per amount of space that you use. There's a lot of reasons why tiny homes are not the best solution. So it's trying to work with BC Housing on the larger solution, which is supportive housing. So we have the shelters and then the supportive housing, and sort of skipping that step of the tiny homes. So at this point, we're not actively pursuing that, but there's a lot more work going on behind the scenes.
Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Thank you. Just a couple of quick comments. Thank you very much for the report. So recently I had an opportunity to talk with several of our key leaders in the nonprofit sector who are working with vulnerable populations. And a common theme in their comments was that they were so impressed and thankful at this new higher level of collaboration in Cranbrook. So these are from our key leaders in the community, and they're saying, you know, yeah, the collaboration is we've set a new bar for how we can collaborate together, and we're seeing the results of that collaboration in these 2 staff reports tonight. So Thank you to our nonprofit sector and to all of our leaders and services who are involved. This is, I mean, you're making a difference. So that's really great to see. And then the other comment is folks are sharing a really good video piece from the CBC from our local reporter, Corey Bullock, talking about Anchor's first sort of foray into the day pay program, and that was through a READY grant from last year. So you can Google it. It's a CBC piece, and it really good. Really tells the story of the value of that kind of approach. So we're doing some excellent work here, and we're trying some innovative approaches, and we're seeing some positive results. So that's very encouraging.
Thank you. And then thank you very much, Marcel. And I can't emphasize enough the difference you're making for the city. When we decided to add that position, you know, we didn't know where we were going at the time, but I can certainly, as we're seeing tonight, you know, at every level, right from the RCMP to our report tonight, to the fire services report, to your report, and you know what we're hearing in the community. Certainly, I would agree that you know, our working relationships and our level of collaboration and coordination in the community, yeah, we're at a new level right now, and you know, it's the partners. This community has really come together here in the last year, and this is a community partnership, and it's very impressive. So thank you. The next administrative update is from Engineering Development Services regarding the Canada Housing Infrastructure Fund and the city's Victoria Sewer Shed Capacity Building Project grant application. Can I have Curtis is back up to give us an overview of this?
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Following up on our discussion at the Committee of the Whole and some of the recent ones at the special budget meeting in regards to the Victoria Sewer capacity issue we're running into, staff have applied for a federal grant. It's called the Canadian Housing Infrastructure Fund. It's a 50-50 split grant. So the value of the grant would be 3.3 million for a total project of 6.6 million. We've applied for the three most significant sections that were having capacity issues with the Victoria Sewer Trunk. So the design that we've applied for deals with the short term, but also the long term aspects of the growth of Cranbrook. So it should be good for at least 75 years, if not longer, depending on the growth rate at 1.8%, which is quite a bit above what we've seen in the last little bit. The grant itself is based on trying to bring housing online right away. So hopefully we're a good contender, because there are several projects in the sewer shed that wouldn't be able to occur if we didn't keep working on this project. So.
Hey, Curtis.
Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, happy to explain more about that, Mr. Furcho. So this year, our capital plan, we're looking at. No, it's all good. I sat there for a second. There it is. Perfect.
Maybe you can just cover the original, like what's not covered in the grant, because then we can scroll down.
Okay, so what's not covered in the grant is the section that we're looking at doing this year between 6th Street North and 2nd Street North as part of our capital program this year. The reason for that is any section that's been started or paid for variety of what we're doing this year wouldn't be covered by the grant application. This is fairly standard with all grants. And given the timing of the award, we don't believe we'd hear prior to us starting this and awarding it, giving the approval already. The section between First Street South and around 4th Street South through Baker Park, we haven't included that as well, as there is a bit more capacity in that section. So it's not as critical today, just due to the grades of the pipe. It's not ideal. There's some age things going on there, but we felt it would actually hinder our grant application a bit by the value and just what they're aiming for in the grant. So we wanted to try and make a grant application that was kind of in a sweet spot for our, if I use that word, for our community population and the grant value too. So the thought would be, these are the 3 primary sections that we need to get into sooner the better, in terms of allowing development to occur. And then when it's all done, depending on other priorities in the next few years, to get back into Baker Park and up 15th Avenue was our thought as a staff level. On the map itself, it identifies the current projects that are in the queue, either through zoning, development permit, or building permit, that are affected by this. The major projects, mind you, not all the little individual houses and fourplex, which are still significant, but so the one that was given the development permit tonight on Victoria, we've got the homeless shelter by the Memorial Arena. There's the BC Builds project. We've got a Quantum Housing up on 2nd Street South, which was given zoning quite a while ago, but they're still working towards that. It's our understanding. The Green Home project, which is quite significant. And then also there's a development permit application that'll be coming forward in front of council fairly shortly for townhomes by St. Mary's School on 4th Street North.
Council, comments? Curtis, thank you very much for this. And I think, you know, what people have to understand, anybody's been following our budget discussions the last couple of years, and our success on senior government funding, it hasn't been coming in. So we obviously haven't, in the last number of years, had that luxury of upgrading our infrastructure to the degree we would like to. What this is doing is, this is accommodating growth that we know is on the books right now, and I know Curtis is probably working on at least another half a dozen to a dozen subdivisions right now, development. So to accommodate those, it's going to be a little bit piecemeal, so to speak, but we're building, we're developing so that we're generating those funds now. And, you know, we may only be able to do sewer and maybe one side of a road or something for now. But again, we're moving forward without doing it this way. We're at a standstill. We're going to get 1 or 2 developments and then that's going to be it. So this is very strategic. I think this works out so well, and I think the strategy is looking at the planning here, and again, making it work financially. I really got to acknowledge you guys. I'm really surprised by how much we're going to be able to get done over the next couple of years. So, yeah, thank you. The final administration up to date tonight is from Public Works regarding the community buildings greenhouse gas reduction study. We have staff here. She's back for another round. Caitlin.
Good evening. Yeah, so this is just an update. So in December of 2023, we received grant funding through FCM to do this project. So this project looked at 19 city facilities and reviewed a bunch of the assets at those facilities to determine if there were some energy conservation measures that could be done that would reduce greenhouse gas emissions. So there were 2 different scenarios that projects were identified in. One was over 10 and 20 years, and the other one was over a 5-year implementation. So through this project, we have a large list of a variety of projects at 19 of our city facilities that include their greenhouse gas reduction, the cost of doing the projects, as well as any payback, the simple payback of those. And that information will be used as we're updating our asset inventories, as well as projects that come up that we need to replace infrastructure. We can review that with, do we replace as is there with something similar or with something that would reduce greenhouse gas emissions? So yeah, I did attach the feasibility studies for information, but there's also additional energy investigation reports, 19 of those, which are just in our records management system.
Thank you, Councillor Stetsky.
And just a comment, I'm very pleased to see funding opportunities as part of the report. I think that should be something we look for in virtually all the reports we can, so that we have a good list in front of us at the end of the report. So thank you for including that.
Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a quick comment. In the last few, seems like weeks, we've had several items come forward related to climate change and how the city of Cranbrook can make a positive impact in trying to, decrease our footprint in this area. So just want to say thank you to staff, and I think it's something as a city we can be proud of, that we're doing this work in this area, and it's something that our residents can be proud of as well.
Thank you. And thanks again, Caitlin. That brings us to Mayor and Councilors' reports. We'll start with Councillor Popoff tonight.
Yes, thank you. Just one inquiry with staff. I don't need an answer right now, but I was informed by some residents with some mobility issues that up at Idlewild Park, they're saying there's signage stating that no motorized vehicles allowed. And I'm assuming we're talking about four-wheel drive cars and trucks, etc. But they're also curious if their accessibility scooters, their e-scooters, would be allowed along the paved trails in and around Idlewild Park. So I'm assuming that that's correct, that the e-scooters are allowed around Idlewild Park on the paved trails, but supposedly the signage just says no motorized vehicles allowed. So just a question that some residents have been raising with me.
Thank you. Councillor Ray.
Thank you, Mayor. Just one quick event to note. I was pleased to attend along with other councillors the press conference or announcement on January 29th at the Cranbrook History Centre regarding the new contract for the operation of Fort Steele Heritage Town. And just want to say thank you to Friends of Fort Steele for all their work over, I think, about 20 years operating Fort Steele. And they'll be wrapping things up by the end of March, and the new operator, the Cranbrook History Centre, will be taking the reins. So I think it's a great opportunity, and it was great to be there.
Fantastic. Councillor Bissett.
Thank you. So this coming Saturday, that we'll be having another community plant-based potluck supper at the Manual Training Center. So that's at 5 p.m. Everyone's welcome. Bring a plant-based dish to share. And just know what your ingredients are, because some people have, certain food intolerances or allergies and that. Anyways, the last one we had was quite successful, and the variety of food is wonderful. And so and it's just a nice event. So that is this coming Saturday, the 15th, at the Manual Training Center, 5 p.m.
Thank you. Councillor Peabody.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I have a few questions, and these don't need to be answered tonight. But I was having a conversation earlier this week with a friend of mine that owns one of the window companies in town. And he was talking about how architects seem to be driving up the price of certain developments. And the example he had is, this one project he was working on had these sliding doors, and for the two sliding doors were like $40,000 or $50,000 when they could build it for $15,000. And that got me thinking about some of the projects that we're doing within the city. For example, the RCMP building and the $14 million price tag on there. And my question is, do we have staff or any controls that are looking at maybe plans that are coming to us from an architect to really look at them with more of a budget focused eye? So are we looking at that and seeing, okay, are they asking for $40,000 windows? Are they asking for the $1,000 windows? Are they adding all these little extras that are costing taxpayers a lot of extra money that maybe we don't actually need? My friend's comment was, well, architects take a certain percentage of what the total development. So there's benefit to them to add these extras in order to make more money. And I just want to make sure that we are not padding the pockets of architects unnecessarily when we can be saving the taxpayers money. My second question was another one, conversation from a gentleman that has land up in industrial, and he's thinking about building a shop on his property. But the question to me is like, what is my incentive to build in Cranbrook? If I build a shop on my property, the value of my property goes up, my taxes go up. He's not necessarily making money off this shop. He's just hoping for an extra space. So it kind of, I was stumped. Like, what is his incentive to add value to his property in Cranbrook, unless he wants to sell it eventually, when he can build in the RDK because he has land in the RDK, or he could build in Castlegar because he has land in Castlegar. And I guess, I don't know if this is a question for our economic development officer, but I would just like to have some sort of answer. Okay, like what do I say to someone who comes to me like, why should I build in Cranbrook? If you're opening a business, it's like, well, yeah, we're sort of the economic center of the area. We have more traffic than most other communities. It makes sense. But for someone who is just building on their property for their own personal investment, like, what's the incentive there? And then the third thing I have tonight, which with this closing of the road on Victoria and possibly turning, a road that's really not used very much or isn't safe into a space that could be developed, it makes me wonder, do we have any other roads that aren't necessary in Cranbrook that could be turned into a developable space? I don't know, like, I don't want to waste too much staff time on this, but if we are ever looking at what sort of available land that we have to develop, maybe roads that aren't necessary, I guess we'd have to identify what services are underneath them. But to me, the less roads that we have, the less we have to maintain, which is financially feasible and just creates more land the Cranbrook could sell off. Yeah, that's it for me.
Thank you. Councillor Stetsky.
Yeah, thank you. Start with a couple of positive things. The Arts Council celebrated books and the 100th anniversary of the Cranbrook Library by an exhibition. And if you get a chance, you should stop by. Basically what artists in Cranbrook working in a variety of mediums did was take their favorite storybook character and then created a piece of art around that character. So if you haven't been there, I'd encourage you to go down to the Arts Building and have a look. I also wanted to congratulate the board of the Cranbrook History Center, CAMEL, on taking on Fort Steele, and we look forward to Fort Steele going back to the level it's been at over the last few years in terms of availability, events, and the train running again. They're looking for an engineer, if you know anybody that can drive an old steam train. But it's great to see the initiative going back into Fort Steele. We had a question about U.S. flags. I drove around town. I could only find one U.S. flag, and that's by the entrance, the Cranbrook Arch. We've had, suggestion that we remove American flags. that perhaps we put them at half mast to grieve the death of a very positive relationship, et cetera. I sent a note off to the president of AKBLG today asking whether there's some sort of a regional approach potentially coming around American flags. And very important that we separate our American people, our American friends from American politics and make sure we're not, we want to keep our American friends, whatever we do or not do moving forward. I sent an email to city councilors and to CEO Furcho. I just want to let you see what it actually looked like. It's called the Handbook, a Toolkit for Local Electeds Climate Action, Aligning Local Government Climate Action with UNDRIP. It's quite a good document and maybe of interest to staff as well, CEO Furcho. Living Lakes Canada, of course, earlier today, we went through the grant applications and it was not supported. In their application, they talk about working directly with city staff. And so CEO Furcho, if you could just check with city staff and see whether they do use their Living Lakes Canada's information in any of the decisions that we make. It'd be good to know that just for future grant applications. Earlier, of course, we talked about Heritage Committee and the official community plan. I guess I'll leave it again to you, CEO Furcho, whether there's anything can or should be done to amend the plan which says we have one and we listen to it on council, particularly given the decision by council tonight not to have one, because it is misleading. And I will certainly work on an AKBLG resolution related to the youth detox and recovery center and bring it back to council.
Thank you very much. I have nothing to report. And with that, I'll get a motion to adjourn. Councillor Bissett, Councillor Peabody, all in favor? Adjourn.